The discussion concludes with John Peterson today on Locked On A's.
You are Locked On A's, your daily podcast on the Athletics, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Booney. One name, all passion. Thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen of the day. I am from the Bay Area, and I've been a diehard A's fan since 1981. This isn't just another A's podcast. This is the most informative and insightful show on the A's, period. We cover the A's every single day, breaking down games, delivering the latest team news, and giving you deep, thoughtful analysis you will not find anywhere else. If it's happening in Sacramento or in Las Vegas, we've got you covered. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. And do me a favor and hit that subscribe button wherever you are following the show. Our discussion with John Peterson concludes today as we cover a number of subjects, which includes the move to Las Vegas. Who was to blame for the A's leaving Oakland? Was it on the city of Oakland? Did the A's ownership really try to stay in Oakland? And stay tuned until the end where I give you my final take on the whole issue. For a lot of people, the Vegas move doesn't make sense. And you're saying you think it was kind of a no-brainer. And correct me if I'm wrong.
I do think that. A lot of it has to do with the value of the franchise. But as far as attendance goes in Vegas, first of all, I think there's always a risk. There would have been a tremendous risk, in fact, of building a new venue in the Bay Area at Howard Terminal, spending $1 billion plus, and attendance being really great for a couple of years, and then petering out again because it's legitimately not a two-team market. So there's risk involved. And let
me ask you a quick question. You make a great point. What and that's been mentioned many times. Bowie Kuhn mentioned that in 75 and Bud Selig again in 2001 it might have been. Yes, it was 2001. That the biggest mistake Major League Baseball was putting two teams in the Bay Area. What do you mean by that? Why isn't the Bay Area a two-team market? I mean, we have LA has what? They have Angels and the Dodgers. New York has the Mets and Yankees. Chicago, White Sox and Cubs. What's different about the Bay Area? Why isn't the Bay Area a two-team market? And often those comments are taken with insult. But it seems like economically that may be true. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think it's the Bay Area had a potential of being a two-team market. I don't know if the A's were in Dublin. I just don't know about Oakland. Well, if you are winning, and you're sitting there in the stands, and the stands are empty, and you don't get those big broadcast. And there's a reason. That's one of the real temperature gauges on the viability of a dual franchise in the Bay Area is, in spite of all that winning, you go to negotiate your TV contract, and they say, this is how many eyes on you got right now. This is how many eyes on. This is what we can pay the advertisers, and here's what we're offering you with respect to this broadcast contract. Never really very good, in spite of winning, and that's dovetails with the number of fans with the gate, right? It's kind of the same thing. I only say that because of the beautiful field, beautiful weather. I'm tailgating. It just the best experience. I just loved being in that parking lot at 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning. When we're in first place or second place, when we're winning. You go in and you look around and you're like, what the heck? What the heck?
Old Candlestick had that vibe too.
And I didn't really have a problem with the Coliseum. I understand other people, wanting a better venue. I mean, it would have been great. I just think that it's that my feeling about the two-team viability in the Bay Area is just based on the fact that there wasn't enough gate or broadcast revenue, even in years where we were just kicking everybody's butt and had exciting teams and were going to the playoffs. And I don't think that, having the Buster Posey would, the thing that everybody says we were missing, the long-term contracts, I just can't see that it would have made it that big of a difference. Maybe a little bit of a difference, but
we would have had to have the long-term contracts. We had to have the superstar players, and we would have had to win.
That's right.
And then, because that's the argument right now from the Bay Area media. You spend, you win, we show. Basically in that order. And you're saying that's not viable. That it doesn't work that way.
It does not work that way. Just go look for a baseball team that, in the last 10 years or so has spent money beyond their revenue, their baseball operations revenue, including gate and broadcast and so forth, merchandising, the revenue sharing. You put it all together, and you won't find anybody that's spending their own wealth or their own money from other business operations on their player contracts. It's just not the way it works anymore. And so people, they believe that. You can believe that all you want. It sounds right. Haas did it and still lost millions, but major league teams don't do that anymore. And I wish they did, because I know that, Fisher had plenty of money to pay higher contracts, but
in his own pocket, right? Or what?
Yeah, it's not good business. It's just not the way it works. When you talk to him, there is a passion for the A's. There's a passion for the Bay Area. But when it came to running the organization, I know that Michael Crowley, for example, is a guy that can make a dime squeal. I mean, he has an accounting background, and he's really good at managing an organization. When I worked with him in the paint business, they were getting the company that he was part owner of, his family was part owner of, they were getting it ready to sell. And so they went around, cleaning everything up and not spending money. And we worked long hours because of that back then. And so he came with a background of frugal management. And so he was perfect for the A's. Right. But were they too tight with money? I think they were probably shot. And Fisher, I can't disagree with that. I wish they would have loosened up a little bit more.
I have blamed attendance. I've never blamed the fans at all. I have blamed the attendance issue on more of a socioeconomic issue with regarding the city of Oakland. I've talked about crime, and that is not a knock on Oakland. There are every other city has crime problems, whether it's Cleveland, Detroit, New York, LA, every city in the country. But the fact of the matter is the Oakland crime issue is publicized, and whether that stereotype and it's publicized and commercialized as one of the most top 3 crime-ridden cities in all of the United States. And whether that stereotype is accurate or not, I'm not here to judge. But the fact of the matter is when that type of situation it draws people away. Not necessarily fans who understand it, who live there, but it draws corporations away. And that money went away. Do you feel that argument is fair, valid in the situation?
I do, but I also think about this fact. A lot of A's, in particular, what you said about the corporate aspect of it. My thought is this: a lot of A's fans didn't live in Oakland. They came from the East Bay. Came from, you could go to downtown Danville and see people wearing their A's swag. It's one of the few.
It's tough to get to, yeah.
It's one of the few places, So when I think about the A's fan base, I think about other places in the East Bay besides Oakland. But what happened, really, in my view, is that when the Giants got their new stadium, and were spending and had the fans, before they had the revenue, before they started spending on big long-term player contracts, and they became so popular and were winning championships that I think that made it tough for the A's. A lot of those fans in the East Bay that would have been or were A's fans started to lean a little bit towards the Giants. I mean, a lot of them that I would talk to that used to go to A's games with me, 30, 40 years ago, they've become Giants fans. And so when I think about Oakland and the reputation of the city and the financial problems of the city, we used to think that perfect, we'll build this incredible development and that'll be really a shot in the arm for Oakland. And what happened over the years was that it started to get worse and worse and worse. Their finances got worse and worse. And then here comes Vegas, and the two things happening at the same time. You got the Giants' success taking some of the East Bay fans. You got Oakland really sinking from an image standpoint, and you've got Vegas. Hey, look, Vegas, and all of that came together. And let me just say, I don't really blame the fans. I certainly don't blame the fans that showed up. The fans that were, I'm an A's fan, but gosh, they don't have any big superstars.
They don't have a new stadium. They don't.
I do.
I'm not going to take the family out there.
I do blame them.
In
some respect, the people that stayed home because we didn't have the big contracts, and I'd be at the ballpark and we'd be winning with people who were budding superstars.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't, get through to them sometimes. Look, show it's safe, enjoy it. And when you leave, it's BART or it's the freeway. It's not like you have to go through East Oakland to get to Coliseum.
Sure.
And nothing's going to happen to you at the Coliseum. And it's beautiful. The weather's great. The field's green. And so this whole thing about Oakland and crime didn't really ring with me, but I do understand from a corporate standpoint and an image standpoint, it mattered. It mattered.
This episode is brought to you in part by Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trade. Supply House. Whether you are in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you will find exactly what you need, delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you will always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code S-H-5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. I feel the city has gotten a freaking pass. The A's had the sell the team campaign and the reverse boycott, where they targeted John Fisher ownership, and they also targeted Major League Baseball, which I felt was a huge misstep. And the reason I say that is because up until then, ownership the other 29 owners can really care less about what was going on in Oakland. They were worried about their own bottom line, their own team, and so forth. That campaign, and while it was inspirational and they got their message across and it was great, Once they brought Major League Baseball into it, it got the other 29 owners involved. And all of a sudden now the other 29 owners were worried about a precedent being set, worried about their own fans doing that to them. Commissioner Manfred works for the owners. And like any other CEO, like a CEO for a company works for the board of directors. Same thing, right? The commissioner works for the owners. And in my opinion, the owners said, hey, handle this. And you better handle it fast. Because up until 2021, Commissioner Manfred was in total support of Oakland. He publicly admonished Fisher and Cavill for how they handled the Peralta site in Laney College. He was constantly in communication with Libby Schaff. I felt he looked at that, and when they attacked him, it's like, listen, I had you guys back for 4 or 5 years, and you're giving the city a pass? And he basically, in a sense, gave them the finger, and he kind of made that known by when the reverse boycott or the Celta team chance started, and he was asked about it in a press conference, and he basically said, hey, yeah, that's great. That's what an average attendance for Major League Baseball is. I felt that was a shot at them for how he felt they turned on him, because it's undeniable he backed the city for 5 years, and all of a sudden the city gets a pass. Did the city get a pass in this whole thing?
I used to think so. And when I mean, everybody shares some responsibility, including fans that didn't show. But let me just say that the sell the team was, I always thought, was ridiculous. And the reason is because who are you going to sell it to? You're going to sell it to somebody who wants to build a venue, and they're going to have all the same hurdles and challenges that the current owners have. And they're not going to put up their own wealth for player contracts either, because nobody does that. So I'm like, sell it to who is what I used to always
Joe
say.
Lacob was always the name coming up.
Yeah. But, you know, you didn't have – nobody out there was going to be more committed to winning, to getting a venue built, and especially before the last few years when the Vegas thing
2021 to 20, yeah.
That's right. But, you know, when I look at the city finances, I mean, if you go to Chat GPT and you ask about Oakland city finances and you see what's there, it made me give them credit for spending the money or committing the money that they did commit. They're just in a really tough spot.
Yeah.
You know, does that mean that, again, with the right leadership, the right charisma, the right persuasive ability, somebody in the you know, on the council or a mayor or somebody couldn't have persuaded the stakeholders in the community that this thing would pay for itself, and
like a Gavin Newsom, for example, and not necessarily to get political in this situation, but he has that charismatic type of look to him where he's a sales guy. He can sell ice to an Eskimo type of person.
That's right.
And that's all I mean by that. Yeah.
That's what you needed.
Yeah.
And that's what you didn't have. And, but I can't say that I blame the city of Oakland. I wish that they would have made the investment and made it sooner, more promptly. And I think that it would have really paid off for them, that it would have been a shot in the arm for the city of Oakland and the area there. But it just didn't happen. But when you look at their finances, Booney, it's just
a mess. Was it really?
I mean, they're trying to renegotiate their contracts with the union employees, and they're doing all kinds of cost-cutting measures at the same time where the needs are bigger. And it's a tough situation for the city of Oakland right now. And it was just really, really bad timing.
Do you think it was one of those situations, hey, we really, really want to, but is it the right thing? And it seemed like everybody was during the whole 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And that's how it felt. It felt like they did everything they could, but at the same time, a lot of other issues going on.
Well, and you think about the electeds going out and talking to voters and at the different events and the town halls and the letters and phone calls and messages. And you just had a lot of people that were against spending that money. I mean, look at the teachers union in Vegas, thinking that there's a zero-sum game between the money they're investing in the A's in Vegas and teacher pay or building schools or whatever, even though it really comes from different buckets. But so you had stakeholders in Oakland and constituents, citizens who were like, we have problems way beyond a baseball park. Keep your focus on what we actually need. The problem with that, of course, is that, again, so many of the fans, so many of the people that would have advocated for Oakland making that commitment and getting that return on that commitment were not citizens of Oakland. And that creates a dynamic where the people that would support it aren't the ones that are paying the taxes in Oakland. They're not the ones that are dealing with the problems that are in Oakland. And they just want Oakland to pay for their ballpark so I can drive from, Livermore to the game. And so that was perpetuated the difficulty there, that dynamic of the fan base not really being in Oakland, but Oakland is the one that needs to foot the bill. And so it was tough. It's tough if you're a politician in Oakland and people are bending your ear about other needs all the time. What are you going to do?
This episode is brought to you in part by FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who's cutting down the nets. I've got my eye on a few underdogs this year, and FanDuel makes it easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. With tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something exciting to bet on. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when I win, I get paid instantly. No waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. As we wrap things up, the general consensus and vibe right now from those Oakland A's fans is, if you continue to support the team, how dare you support this ownership group? You were never an Oakland A's fan. I mean, my take has always been, and again, I believe I've followed the A's, started being a fan since I was a kid. And when I talked about this a little bit on Friday, and when I started going to the games, my dad was never a real big baseball fan or sports fan, so it was always hard to get to the Coliseum. I live in the Bay Area. I'm from the Peninsula. Anyone knows anything about the Bay Area and the Peninsula, this is Giants territory, right? They have about the same type of feeling towards the A's as they do the Dodgers. And it was real difficult. As I got older into high school and with some friends and who liked the A's, we skipped school here and there and got to a day game at the Coliseum. And the Coliseum was just an unbelievable, beautiful ballpark. Oh, God, just majestic. And I'll never forgive the city for what they did to the ballpark. They ruined it. They absolutely ruined a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful ballpark.
Yep.
And I'll never forgive them for that, because they took away a lot of when I was just like, oh, this is going to be great when I get older. And obviously I still did, but for anybody that's been in the Coliseum before it was done, it's just majestic, just a great ballpark. So for me, when that take is like, hey, it's Oakland A, the A's were always third fiddle. The A's were always last on everybody's list. The city of Oakland, when it came to the Raiders, the city of the Oakland gave the A's the finger, and the Warriors were a second, as the A's were a distant third. They could care less about the A's through all the time I was a fan. And so now all of a sudden we're losing you. Oh my God, how can you ever go anywhere else and support this team? Is crazy to me.
Yeah.
Because time after time, the city Oakland gave the A's the finger every chance they could. And I'll never buy it. I'll never buy it. I have a different take. I hate that take. So, and again, with that being said, if you no longer want to support the A's because you're an Oakland fan, I have no problem with it. But to criticize, demean, insult those who are following the A's as they continue their journey, as if they were the worst Dodger fan or whatever worst fan you like, is just something I don't understand, and just is completely naive and ignorant to me.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm going to continue to be a huge fan. I'm disappointed that they're leaving. I know people in the organization, obviously, and they've worked so hard, and they've wanted to win, and they're still with the team or still supporting the team. And they need, I mean, if you think about Billy Beane, what he did, and he's still in there, I'd like to see him successful. And, I've always believed that we were just so close so many times. I'd like to see us go all the way there. I remember the thing I remember about that day I was at the Texas, when we beat Texas to
2012.
In 2012, at the game. And
what a year. Best year ever.
Just as we won, just as the game was over, I remember so clearly Billy Beane and Michael Crowley turning around and just giving them, each other this huge bear hug. And so that's the picture in my mind that I think when A's are winning in Vegas, and if they win it all, or, win to advance in the playoffs, in a particular playoffs, there's so many people that I respect and care about in the organization that are going to be finally get really what they have worked so hard for. And as a fan, I'm still, I'm still waiting for that too. And I don't want to miss it when it happens, even if it has to be in Vegas.
Are you saddened or bothered that sports, baseball, this whole situation is so politically driven?
Well, sure. I mean, I think that in the age we live in, misinformation travels around a lot faster than the truth. And I think the thing that is tough is people believing things that I know are unambiguously false. And that from the politics of it, that's what I think. And what disappoints me, I think the media has done a really horrific job on this, because to get the clicks, to get the eyes on the content, you can't come out with an expose defending John Fisher. Nobody's gonna read that. You have to make them the billionaire villain.
Yep.
In order to get eyes on, right? And I think that causes the media to do just real disservice to some of the complexity of this thing. And I think
100%.
From a political standpoint, that's what comes to mind.
You have been awesome, wonderful. I really, really appreciate it. Let's talk again soon, my friend.
Thank you, Booney. It was great being on, and it was a lot of fun. And go A's!
Absolutely, my friend. You take care, pal.
Okay.
Bye-bye. When we stopped recording and John and I talked for a few minutes after, he stated that some of the points I brought up regarding what seemed to be half-hearted efforts by the A's, he didn't think of. John told me the only way to really get the truth is to get someone who was really on the inside, such as a Dave Kaval, for example. I thought hard about what he said and thought, sure, Dave Kaval would definitely provide a perspective that nobody could, and it may provide truth, closure. I then thought, if I got someone else who was in the same room as Kaval, they may have a completely different perspective, even though the same exact conversation took place. The bottom line is that in our society today, controlled by what we see on our handheld devices, gives us so much data where we cannot differentiate between right and wrong. We would rather side with someone that is similar to us, stick our flag in the ground and defend your stance with all your might, without knowing the real truth. The truth? What a profound statement. How about the actual issue? The perspective? To be honest, that doesn't really matter anymore. Those are all really a distant second. I have never blamed the fans for the A's departure, never for 1 second. When I look back and think of the Oakland fan base, you guys were absolutely hardcore when it came to the Raiders. Best fans in the NFL. The black hole was something to behold. And I don't like the Raiders. Not a fan of the Raiders. Never have been. But it is undeniable that the Raiders fandom was the best in arguably all of sports. I think the same with the Warriors. I had season tickets to the Warriors. And again, best fans in the NBA, win or lose. The We Believe years were one of the best years of my life as a sports fan. Oracle Arena was 1,000% electric. You guys know what I'm talking about. Now the A's. The A's? No. You had your hardcore 8 to 10,000 fans. No question. But the fan base as a whole, like most other fan bases, calling the Oakland A's fan base as a whole now, front runners would be a compliment. If they spent, if they win, you might show. And Oakland, stop being so damn sensitive. It's just the freaking truth. When the sell the team chant started and Commissioner Manfred said that the attendance was that of an average MLB team on that particular night, that was the truth. Attendance was always the issue. And we can blame it on numerous things. But it was the issue. And don't tell me the A's didn't win. Not everything is an insult, guys. If you come to me and say, hey, Booney, your background sucks, your editing stinks, those hats make it look like you're hosting a local softball team's podcast, not an MLB franchise. Those are all truths. Just like you were the best fans in the NFL and in the NBA. I'm going to miss the A's a lot, and I have been to more games than most of you. And it hurts that I'll no longer be able to hop in my car, pick up my buddy, get on the 101 to 92 over the San Mateo Bridge, merge on an 880 and take the Hagenberg exit while listening to pregame on the radio. Thinking today is the day we put together a run. I'm going to miss having a couple cold ones in the parking lot before entering the Coliseum. Grabbing a couple ice cold beverages before taking my seat and grabbing a couple more before the 7th inning. I will miss all of that dearly. History has taught us that owners truly do not own teams. They make decisions for a period of time, from Benjamin to Connie to Earl to Arnold to Charles to Walter to Steve to Lou to John. History has also taught us that sports franchises don't belong to cities. They just host them for a period of time. From Philly to KC to Oakland and now to Vegas. This wasn't just the A's, though. Go through history. Brooklyn to LA, New York to San Francisco, Boston to Milwaukee, Milwaukee to Atlanta, Seattle to Milwaukee, Washington to Texas, Montreal to Washington. I'm sure I'm missing a couple. You can take that through different sports as well. You see, the thing about sports is it's designed to be enjoyed and cherished by everybody. It is the only common denominator in a world where we are all so different. It is designed to bring us together, yet here we are. our own worst enemies, trying to control an issue we have zero control over. Unreal. Franchises do not belong to a city, nor do they belong to an owner. Franchises belong to one person and one person alone, the fan. The fan themselves. And you can never take that away from them. Let me be as real as I can with you, Oakland, Bay Area media, and all of you that continue your decisive narrative on this topic. Get off your high horse. Seriously. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. The only person that took away the A's from you was you. Thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast with host Dominic Martino and Matthew Onai. MLB fantasy draft season is here. Be the most informed fan and set yourself up for a league win. Find Locked On Fantasy Baseball on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts.